Hi everybody, this is Dulcimer and I hope that you are doing well. For today's video, I am taking a recommendation from a viewer and I'm going to be sharing my collection of Dulcimer music books with you. Now, I've been playing the Dulcimer for about 7 years now, which means that I definitely have kind of amassed a collection. Some of these books I've used a lot, some of these books I haven't used as much, but I do want to share what I have with you and give you my thoughts on them. Just so that there's some sort of order to this video, I have put the books that I'm going to show you in order of when I purchased them. So we'll start with the first books that I got and we'll move all the way over to the books that I've gotten most recently. So here we go. So we're starting with a book that I've already talked about on this channel, and that is You Can Teach Yourself Hammered Dulcimer. I'll keep this one short because I've already talked about it in the video that I'm linking above, but basically this was my first instruction manual to get myself started with the Dulcimer. I thought it was really useful. I got a lot out of it and I used it for a long time. So if you are looking for a good book to start off with on the hammered Dulcimer, I still really recommend this book, and definitely check out the video that I talked more in depth about it in. Now the next book that I'm going to show you, arguably I actually even bought before You Can Teach Yourself Hammered Dulcimer, but I didn't actually use it until much later, and you'll see why when I show it to you. It is this book. This is an easy piano Studio Ghibli book that I bought in Japan. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I lived in Japan for 2 years, and I was already starting to make plans to learn the hammered Dulcimer as I was moving back to the States. So along with ordering my Dulcimer and having it waiting for me when I came back to the United States, I also picked up this book at a local music store in Japan before I left. And I was just really excited to have a collection of music that I could refer to when I got to a point with the Dulcimer that I could feel more comfortable with doing some more complicated music. Now, I haven't used this book in a while, but I have gotten good use out of it for Merry-Go-Round of Life, the beginning of that one, and Always With You, those 2 recordings that I have here on the channel. They started off as these easy piano arrangements, but of course going from piano to Dulcimer, I did change a lot. However, this was where I started to get, the general tune and so on and so forth. Now, for a while, those were the only 2 books I was using for music for my hammered Dulcimer. I was getting, more comfortable with the instrument. I was working my way through You Can Teach Yourself Hammered Dulcimer. But what happened when I finished You Can Teach Yourself Hammered Dulcimer? That's when I started buying a lot more books, and we're gonna move into those now. So the next few books that I bought, I kind of bought together as a chunk. There were 3 of them. The first thing I knew was that I really, really wanted a book of Christmas music, because if there's one thing I absolutely love about playing the hammered Dulcimer, it's the ability to learn Christmas music. That's why I always have way more Christmas music that I can share than probably anything else I do throughout the year. I love it. I start in August and I just keep going all the way until the end of December. So anyways, this was the first Christmas book that I got. It's 'Tis the Season. It's a Mel Bay book, and I really like it. The thing that I like about this is each of the pieces that's in here, they offer 2 different versions of the songs. They offer a easy piece that you can start off with right here, and then right next to it they have a kind of intermediate level piece that you can learn. This is also not all Christmas music. There's some other holiday pieces in here, such as some more patriotic pieces for like 4th of July and We Gather Together, the hymn for Thanksgiving, and so on and so forth. I have used this book a lot. I would definitely recommend it if you're looking for a good Christmas book. At that same time that I bought that Christmas book, I also bought what I was hoping would be a book that would keep me going for a while, and this is The Hammered Dulcimer Treasury of Tunes. Sadly, I really haven't gotten a lot of use out of this book. I just personally don't think it's the right book for me. I probably haven't given this book enough of a chance, but it's just personally not one that I've really enjoyed, sadly. The third book that I bought at the time was this technique book. This is Killer Technique, Hammer Dulcimer by Mark Wade. He is the one who also sells the duster that I use for my dulcimer, so I will also link to that video. Again, I haven't used this book that much. It is definitely a great technique book. There is a lot to work through in here. I just have to admit that when I am playing my dulcimer, I just want to enjoy playing a good tune. So I haven't spent as much time working on my technique maybe as I should, but I have it when I'm ready, right? So this is in my collection. In 2016, I went to graduate school, and that was a really busy time for me. And I ended up having to kind of take a break from the dulcimer. I did bring it with me to school, but it was a pretty jam-packed schedule. I was working full-time during the day and then going to school in the evening. So there just wasn't a lot of time for me to practice or play. So about, I don't know, a year or so later, that's when I really picked up learning the dulcimer, and I actively started looking for a teacher. At that time, I learned that there was somebody near me who does play the hammer dulcimer, and I contacted him, and through him, I actually got a chance to take a lesson with the author of the next book that I'm about to show you, and that is Dan Duggan. This is a book of tunes that he wrote. During the lesson, we learned one of the pieces from this book, but since then I haven't actually used it a lot. I am looking forward to going back to it eventually because I really did like the tune that we learned together, but this is here waiting for me. And now we're back to Christmas. This is probably my favorite book that I own, and it is Christmas with Your Dulcimer by Karen Alley. This is an intermediate level Christmas book written and arranged by Karen Alley, and there is a lot to work through here, and it's been keeping me busy for about 2 years now. I love it. Again, I have worked through a lot of the tunes in this book, just like the other Christmas book that I have. The nice thing about this book is that Karen Alley actually uploaded recordings of what each arrangement sounds like on her YouTube channel. So you can refer to that as you're learning each piece, and I think that is super useful to have a recording of an arrangement to hear what it's supposed to sound like. When I bought the Christmas book from Karen Alley, I also bought her book Beyond Melodies, which is another intermediate level book. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it when I was collecting all of my books today. It's definitely around. I live in a small apartment, but sadly I couldn't find it today. However, I would recommend it. I have also done a few tunes from that book that I've shared here on the channel. Basically, I really recommend any of Karen Alley's books. They've been really, really helpful for me. So you can find those on her website if you're curious. Again, definitely really recommend. Now, we are into the last two books, the books that I have bought most recently, and the books arguably that I have sadly used the least. As we know, in 2020, everything changed. The world shut down, and I decided what I really needed now that I was finding myself kind of stuck at home, just like everybody else, was some new books of music to learn some new tunes through. So I ended up ordering 2 more books. I ordered Shall We Gather, which is a book of hymns, and I ordered Hammered Dulcimer Arrangements for Special Occasions. These are books that I think at this point I have learned 1 tune from each. And you know what? I really like the tunes that I've learned from these, but around the time that I got these books, I also found myself another hammer dulcimer teacher, and I've just been learning pieces from my teacher or from Quarantune, because that also started at the same time ever since then. I will say recently, I really just haven't been working out of books at all. But I do have them here just in case I want to go back, because there are a lot of really good tunes in both of these books. I just haven't had really of a chance to explore them at all. So I'm looking forward to that too. Seeing as most of the music that I'm playing these days is coming from my teacher or coming from the quarantine workshops, that means I have a lot of loose music around, which means it's really important that I have a binder. This orange binder is most of my music. I still find a lot kind of just lying around my apartment here and there, but I try really hard to keep all of the loose sheet paper I receive from workshops and my teacher in this binder so that it's all in one place, and if I do need to go back and reference it, it is where it needs to be. So that is all, and honestly, I think that is more than enough. I showed you 10 books and a binder and mentioned a missing book. So that's 11 books in a binder. Definitely more than enough music to keep me going. I don't know if this was a helpful video, but maybe it was an interesting video if you're curious. Let me know down in the comments what you thought, or if you have any other ideas about what I could share with you here on the channel. So that's all for today. I hope that the rest of your afternoon or morning or whenever you're watching this goes wonderfully, and I will see you next week. Bye everybody.